Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and today I want to talk about the success of Overwatch. The overwhelming and incredible success of Overwatch. At this point, it's obvious to just about everybody that the game has sold incredibly well, that it is already built and is maintaining a phenomenal player basis, a community on all three of its platforms, by the way, both on the console side of things as well as on the PC side of things. Blizzard has effectively added another successful genre to their already diverse lineup of games. From Diablo to StarCraft to World of Warcraft to Heroes of the Storm to Overwatch. They are conquering on like every single front. If they were an army, they would definitely be winning the damn war. So I really want to talk about that today. I want to talk about my personal reasons for enjoying Overwatch so much, and also talk about some of the reasons just, why I think the game is so incredibly successful. So what I will say, I will warn you right now. Number one, I ask you to, of course, share your opinion regarding the whole subject at any point during the video. I wish that you watch all of the video first. But this may just come across as me tooting Blizzard's horn, and it may just sound like I'm one giant Overwatch fanboy. And you know what? I really don't care if anybody actually thinks that, because Overwatch is a game that absolutely deserves all of the love, all of the credit, and all of the respect, because it's due for it. It's a phenomenal experience built by an incredible team that was coming off an absolutely, I can only imagine how emotionally devastating failure with Titan. So let's start by saying, number one, the feat that Blizzard has actually accomplished. I think it's overlooked how difficult it is to actually launch a competitive FPS into the scene that currently exists and have it remain successful past like the 2-month mark. Titanfall obviously dropped off. Gears of War has dropped off at this point. To make a FPS juggernaut and to have it stick, to have it continue to do battle with the other juggernauts, that's not an easy thing to do. People try all the time, and they fail constantly. There's very few games that have been able to do battle with Battlefield, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Halo. People are constantly dropping off of that list, and people are constantly trying to get onto that list and constantly failing. So just recognize that. That's a difficult thing to do, and Blizzard has totally and absolutely done it. I know we're not even at the 1-year mark yet, but if a game's going to lose the community, it would have done it by now. And I know there are plenty of opportunities moving into the future for Blizz to make mistakes and the community to disappear, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they have an incredible base product, and it's just all about support at this point, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I want to start by talking a little bit about some of the hardcore reasons I think the game is successful, starting with its incredible accessibility. Overwatch is a game that takes the concept of accessibility, hones it like a razor-sharp edge, and then, I don't know, cuts watermelon with it or something. It does a really good job of being accessible, let's just put it that way. It's open to a massive audience. One of the biggest ways they do this, obviously, is the heroes. Having all of these different heroes, having these sort of different roles for the heroes, and having heroes within those roles that are aimed towards maybe, a lower skill level player or a higher skill level player. You can go from someone like Soldier 76 to Genji, someone like Reinhardt to Zarya. There's room for everyone to jump into the FPS experience. That's attracted people that would not otherwise have been attracted to a competitive FPS. And you've got people all over the place playing this game that would never touch Counter-Strike or Call of Duty or Battlefield. They wouldn't go near that stuff. They'd look at it and they say, man, yeah, the last thing I want to do is get crushed by 14-year-olds with reflexes, faster than a frickin' ninja. That's not the game that Overwatch is, so, it opens itself up to this massive audience. The width of its audience is incredible. And on top of that, they're also attracting shooter fans from these games that we talk about, from Battlefield, from Call of Duty, from Counter-Strike. We've got people who were heavy into Counter-Strike, streamers that I watched, now playing Overwatch like every freaking day, man. It's incredible what they've done with that. And when we talk about that accessibility, with the heroes, like I mentioned, I want to go back to that quickly. It doesn't mean that they have like a bunch of heroes that are easy mode. Reinhardt may be easy to pick up, but there's still plenty of room for mastery. And I think that bit right there is really at the heart of their ability to maintain accessibility without removing that necessary, skill level for players who are looking to, get really good at the damn game. I really disagree with people who say the game has a low skill ceiling. I think it's a silly thing to say. There's plenty of room to grow, and there's plenty of room to be a really hardcore badass with a lot of the heroes on this game's roster. Now, one of the things that a lot of people say to me, and I completely agree with this, but it's probably the #1 thing that people say to me when we talk about other first-person shooter games, you know, the multiplayer shooter experiences coming out later this year. A lot of you guys have just straight up told me that Overwatch has set a new standard for you. You know, it's really changed the way you look at other first-person shooters, and you expect so much more. I think that's great for Blizzard, obviously bad for other businesses, but that's kind of the point of competition, right? And I completely agree. I think they really have set a new standard for polish and for presentation. You know, #1, the launch and delivery was fantastic. They held an incredibly lengthy beta period and alpha period, which is something that not many studios, I think, have the option to do. They're really rushed to launch. They maybe hold a beta for 1 month, or, you know, some games are like, hey, come play our beta for 1 weekend. Like Titanfall 2. You know, Blizzard had the ability to try out so many different features, so many different implementations of their you know, ranking system, their leveling system, their reward system, by pushing out this incredibly early alpha. This is something they've obviously done with a lot of their games. They did it with Heroes of the Storm, and they've done it with a lot of the StarCraft 2 stuff, and of course the World of Warcraft expansions, and it's done well for them. And I think that was a big part of why the game felt so good day one. You know, server issues and stuff like that aside, that's always going to happen. The overall polish and presentation of the game from day one was outstanding. And when we talk polish and presentation, we're obviously talking about, you know, the gun feel. Like, how's the shooting feel? You know, how does the game's movement feel? How does the sound design? You know, how is the level design? All of that stuff is just like, bam. It's, you know, it's 11 out of 10 on like all of that stuff. There's no doubt about that. And the game has so many incredible little details that were big drawing points for me. The first time I saw Junkrat, for example, just watching a player jump with Junkrat and seeing how many parts on his, you know, homemade grenade launcher actually move about, that's a big deal. That's that extra layer of detail that Blizzard always goes to in their games. And to me, that's a big grabbing point. You know, when you're working on a genre that is already so prevalent, you really need to look at the details. And I think they did that. And that leads us right into the next bit here, which is the ridiculous level of personality and character that Blizzard has put into Overwatch. It makes for a very attractive product. You know, when you, as a consumer, right, you know, this holiday season, you're sitting down, maybe you're 17 years old, you got your paper route money, and you got one game you can buy to play with your friends, and you all pool together at the kitchen table. Okay, let's make our decision. What's it going to be? Overwatch is definitely going to be sitting at the top of that list, you know? Like, it's just, everything about the game just pops, it sticks out to people, it has a certain level of uniqueness, even though it is based very much on things that have already existed in first-person shooters for the last 10 years. They've just managed to deliver it in a very, you know, specialized manner. You know, you see that in the character design. Again, you see that in the world design. I always like to use the example that, you know, Overwatch, for a game that is multiplayer only, and without me doing any really deep research, you know, into the game's lore and things like that, I know more about its characters and more about its world than I do in some full-fledged single-player games that give me a direct story. There's just so much built into the game, you know, whether it's the maps, the things the characters say to one another, the skins that the characters have. You know, there's always a conversation to be had. You know, you're at the start of a match, your group of friends you play with on the weekend, you know, one of the characters says something to another character, you catch, you know, out of the corner of your eye something inside of the level design. There's always a conversation being started by the game itself, which has in many instances encouraged a lot of my friends to go out and learn more about the game. So, you know, maybe you're not the one who does the research on the lore, but I guarantee you, if you're playing with a group of people, someone in that group is going to be compelled to do so, and the next time you play with them, you're going to learn why this character said that to this character. Like, that's super cool, you know, and I think that's one of the game's strong points. Not many multiplayer-only experiences can really portray to the player a great sense of lore and character. You know, at the end of the day, you feel like a lot of the characters are just there. You know, the developers made them, that's why they exist. It's not like that with Overwatch. You have a very good idea why 76 is there, and of course a lot of that ties into the incredible animated shorts that they've done for the game. You know, just recently really bringing Bastion to life. A character I already loved. You know, the hate was there for a lot of people just because, I don't know, they're angry people. How can you not love Bastion? And after that short, the Woodpecker, I was almost crying. It's just, that's Blizzard, right? That's what they do. And they've just done it so well with Overwatch. Now, one of the most important things about building a multiplayer FPS is, of course, trying to maintain its life. This is a difficult thing to do. As a developer, you don't plan for your game to, you know, to last a year. In most cases, especially when you're making an original IP, you just try and make the best product you can, and you hope the community sticks around. And then when the community does stick around, you know, you show your support. You support the community, and of course, you support the game. This is something that Blizzard has excelled at beyond belief. Blizzard does this with a lot of their games. You know, people really always try and take Blizzard down a notch, but for the few failures or missteps they have there, they have like 20 really great successes and really great shows of, guess what? We give a damn about the games we've built. We're people who like making games, we like seeing people play our games, and we want to support those games. And that's exactly how everything has gone with Overwatch, you know? They've been there, they've listened to the community, they've seen the feedback. Their support for Overwatch is just top of the industry. And I think it really shows in their persistence for balancing this game. You know, I'm not one who gets too caught up in the this isn't balanced and that isn't balanced thing. I never like to see a certain hero in a game like this fall behind. You know, that's my biggest pet peeve, is like, why aren't more people playing this hero? Maybe they do need to do something. That's where I get concerned. But in terms of like the balance hate train of this character's OP and so on and so forth, I don't really get too caught up in that. But nonetheless, most of the community does, and Blizzard sees that. And they do what they can. You know, the one thing they have under their control is to, of course, to go out to look at statistics and, you know, to look at even psychological feedback from the community. You know, how is the community perceiving a certain hero? You know, statistically, this hero's not OP, but the community feels they are. So what can we do to change their perception of said hero? That's not an easy thing to do, and Blizzard does it like every week. There's a new patch for this game. I can't even keep up with it. If I did patch notes on my channel, I'd be making a video, you know, probably every week or at least every other week talking about the patch notes and the changes. They're always pushing stuff to PTR, letting it get tested for a week, and then they're pushing it to the full release. They're just constantly making these small refinements to try and make the game as balanced as it possibly can be. That's not an easy thing to do. Like I said, you've got the statistical side of it, and you've got the psychological element that will always exist, especially this day and age, when the community is always able to have an open say. This isn't 15 years ago when you launch a product and you're lucky to get a patch on a floppy disk in a magazine, you know, a year and a half later after the game's released. The community is always giving feedback, and therefore, you know, Blizzard has to answer, and I think they've done an amazing job of that. So for me, everything I just said, that contributes to Overwatch's incredible success. And I'm very happy that the game is successful as it has been. I enjoy playing it every single weekend. I sit down and play the game. There's a damn good reason for that. You know, my same group of good friends, we all sit down Friday night and Saturday night, and we play the game for about 2 hours, and it never gets old. You know, I have not gotten tired of Overwatch. You know, it's right next to Rainbow Six Siege with me for games that I know I could play for years and years to come. There's just this endless feeling of replayability. I'm always having a good time when I go into the game. The gunplay, you know, the modes, the maps, everything's always enjoyable, you know, for how little the game actually has. That's the one complaint I can maybe throw at the game, was that they didn't launch with enough content. I would have liked to see more maps maybe. But it's hard for me to complain about that when I've never actually felt like that was an issue, you know? On paper, it's like, man, that's not enough maps, that's not enough modes. But in practice, in my, you know, multiple months of playing the game for over 100 hours, probably 200-hour mark now, I never once have said to myself, I wish we had more maps, I wish we had modes. I'm just so incredibly happy with playing the game. Of course, more of that stuff is happy. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They definitely should. And they're already looking to do that. But all in all, Overwatch is going to go down, without a doubt, is one of my all-time favorite FPS multiplayer experiences, like, in my lifetime. It's right up there with Halo 2, CS 1.6. You know, it's right there for me, and there you have it. Let me know why you feel Overwatch was such a success, if you have any personal reasons for really loving Overwatch. I know there's quite a few of you guys out there on the channel who really do love this game as much as I do, who really do see it as a game that set a, you know, a new standard for this genre. Let me know down in the comment section below. Share all of your wonderful thoughts and opinions, and I will see you in the next one.